Welcome back to I'm Just a Fan. It's your host, Ben, and we're going to be doing an NFC Championship preview for the Rams and the Seahawks. I think this is going to be a great game, obviously the better game on Sunday, and there's really so much to break down in this one. Just to start off the preview, I do have the Seahawks winning. I do have them winning. I had them winning 27-23, so they will be in a tighter game. I don't see how this game isn't tight. I don't see either of these teams blowing each other out, especially because they know each other so well. So that's kind of the way I was looking at it. But I have Seattle winning by 4 points. And just a couple things that I wanted to touch on before we really get into this preview. Seattle appears to be -2.5 favorites. That makes sense. I would have expected maybe a slightly larger spread, but 2.5 I guess feels right. I don't know. I would have maybe bumped that up to 3.5 max. But again, I only have Seattle winning by 4, so it's kind of in that range. And then another one that was interesting was it was the over. Yes, the over was over under was at 47.5. Again, I had this going just a little bit over, but I guess Vegas sees this as a little bit more of a not low-scoring game, but a game that isn't going to be a shootout. Again, we saw a shootout in the last matchup, but I don't see either defense letting up, I guess, that many explosive plays. And, of course, the matchup before, there was 4 interceptions. That was kind of a weird game, the first one. So don't really know what to make of that total, but I have it going over. That's the way I'm looking at it. Let's get into the preview now. The first key to success for Seattle to win this game is to get the running game going. And we saw that last week against San Francisco. Kenneth Walker balled out. He ended up having 3 touchdowns, had a great game on the ground. Again, Charbonnet got hurt, which is going to hurt the run game. But at the same time, K9 showed that you can rely on him. And I think, again, this is, just really football 101. If you get the run game going, it makes the defense a little bit more honest. They are going to be then, kind of putting more guys in the box, opens up the passing game, allows you to maybe potentially, get JSN a little bit more involved. And also, it just wastes the clock. If you consistently get the running game going, it's, number one, just very annoying to deal with for a defense. And number two, again, it's going to get that clock going. The goal is to keep the Rams offense on the sideline. We know the Rams offense is going to score. It's just what they do. Even when they have a bad game, they're still going to score. You have to keep them on the sideline as much as possible because, again, if you can get some long, consistent drives where you're really wearing down the defense of the Rams, I think that is a critical key to success for Seattle. Again, we'll see if it happens, but I think they can rely on K9. He showed what he could do last week. Yes, it's a bigger test this week, but that O-line is humming right now. I think K9 can at least be a decent attribute to getting this done for Seattle. As I said, with the run game now potentially being opened up, if the run game is there, take a shot or two. Get JSN involved. We all know how JSN was in this offense earlier in the year. I mean, he was averaging, at least 1 deep bomb a game, and he was usually winning on a majority of those battles. I don't know what the weather is going to be like in Seattle. Probably should have looked into that. Realistically, what's it going to be? Gray, cold, and rainy. I still think they're going to be able to pass the football. Get a shot to JSN. Get him involved in general, but I really would like for Seattle to maybe take a deep shot to him at least maybe twice that game just to, again, potentially draw either a huge flag or even get a touchdown. And maybe even a deep shot to Shaheed. Again, we've seen his speed. Obviously, we saw it last week, and the Rams know all about his speed with that punt return in the last matchup. So if I'm Seattle, you get the passing game going based off of the run, of course. And again, if the timing for the shot is there, if you like a look that the defense is giving you from the Rams, take a shot. Just take one. I don't really think it's the worst thing in the world. And again, maybe you just get a stupid flag from the Rams. There's a lot of positives, not too many negatives to worry about on that end. The Seahawks need to protect Sam Darnold. And the reason I say that is because when I was prepping this video, I was thinking about last January with the Vikings and the Rams. Yes, completely different game, but we all saw what happened when the Rams got pressure on him. He can get a little flustered. I'm pretty sure he fumbled in that game as well. Seattle needs to do their job, protect this guy. It's been a great offensive line this year. Keep him upright, keep him comfortable. Just give him time. You don't want him getting, kind of just all over the place with how he's going with his progressions. You want him as composed as possible. And then, of course, even with the rest of the offensive line, just do your job run blocking wise, which they'll do because they've done it really all year. But I think, again, you just got to keep Darnold upright and make sure he's not getting hit too much. Also, the oblique. There's a lot of things to consider on that end. This is specifically for Sam Darnold. Play your brand of football. And when I say your brand of football, it's what's gotten you to this point this year. Darnold, you know it best, especially after throwing 4 interceptions versus the Rams earlier in the year. That is not the way to beat the Rams. To beat the Rams, you got to run the football, chew clock, take what the defense gives you, maybe take a deep shot here or there, and really just play, game managing football. And that's not an insult in any way. This is something I would have said to CJ Stroud last week. When you have that level of defense, which Seattle does, why would you want to be the hero? Rely on your defense. You know they're realistically going to create 1 or 2 turnovers, and you have a great offense. Just do your job. Don't turn the ball over. Don't take unnecessary shots. Don't get aggressive. Just do what you do. Try to get as many points on each drive as possible. And I think that's the best option for Sam. And that's what he's been doing the last couple of weeks. I mean, we saw it versus the 49ers. We saw it really again versus the 49ers in Week 18, though that was a little bit more low scoring. But still, he's just got to do what he's got to do. Don't get too crazy. Just play some game managing football. And I think the Seahawks will be going to the Super Bowl. Last for the Seahawks, the defense. The defense, number one, needs to create a turnover. I don't even know if they got Matt Stafford to even throw an interception in the last game. I don't think so. And he cooked them last game. If you can even just get 1 turnover from him, that would be massive. We saw how many turnovers they got last week. It was 3 against San Francisco. So there's a lot to consider there. But again, even if you can just get 1, it really could flip the entire game. And obviously, try to get some pressure on this guy, which they have a great D-line. So I think that will be happening. But we saw what the Bears did last week, 4 sacks against that offensive line. Again, I think it will be something similar. Maybe not 4, but 2 to 3 could be realistic. Pressure. You can trust your corners. We saw what the Bears did a little bit last week as well. They were in a lot of man coverage and really trusted their corners against Puka and Devontae Adams, and neither of them went off. If Seattle can create some type of similar game plan, that would be great for them. I just don't know if that's fully possible just because, again, we saw what Puka did by himself without Devontae in Seattle. But if that's not the case this Sunday, then I think that's going to lean into Seattle's hands. Let's get into the Rams now. The Rams need to have the running game going, and they can't get away from it. They cannot get away from it. With Seattle, with this type of defense, a defense that's pretty much sound from every single side of the unit, you need to get the running game going, and you can't get away from it because, in my opinion, the strengths of the Seattle defense are that defensive line and then the guys in that secondary. And if you can just or if they can get in the mindset of, oh my gosh, they can't even run the football, or they're getting away from the run and we can just, solely rush the passer, I think that puts LA in a really, really bad position. I would like to, again, just see them have a little bit more of a balanced attack. At times, I felt like they were relying on Stafford a little bit too much last week. We even saw this at times versus Carolina. There were times, I remember, I don't know why, I do remember why I remember this, but it was coming out of half against Carolina, and the Rams threw the ball 4 times, 4 straight incompletions. Why not mix a run in there 1 or 2 times? It just, gives the defense a different look. That's what I think they got to do. McVay loves to pass. Obviously, he's one of the better passing, schemers in the league, but you got to do the same thing for the run game. Again, it's really just to keep Seattle's defense honest. You do not want to just fully play into the pass. I don't think that leads to success on Sunday. This is a given, but continue to feed Puka and Devontae Adams. Yes, I think Puka will have some success on Sunday. I don't see him having back-to-back stinker games. I wouldn't even say he had the worst game last week, but it's not like he really went off. But he went off against Seattle in December. Do I think it's going to be to that level? No, because I think Macdonald will make adjustments, but you have to get that guy involved. And then Devontae Adams didn't even play in the last matchup, so I think he changes a little bit of what Seattle's going to try to do scheme-wise. Again, if you can just rely on even 1 or 2 or one of those guys, I think it's really going to add to success because when you look back at the stats last week, Puka didn't even hit 60 yards. Devontae Adams had 2 catches for 24. That's realistically not happening again. So we'll see what happens, but you got to get at least one of those 2 guys involved, or I'm going to be a little scared on how the Rams are going to consistently score points on Sunday. The last point I have for the Rams is the Rams defense. The Rams defense, in my opinion, needs to shut down the Seattle run game. If you can just make it a difficult day to run the ball, you're putting a lot of pressure on Sam Darnold to pass, especially if the Rams end up having a lead for a sustained amount of time and you really, really got to make him pass. They can't rely on the run and they have to get some points. He's going to have to pass. We, again, as I talked about, saw what happened last year. Different team, I understand, but when the Rams were pressuring Darnold last year in the wild card, they got to him and they made it a problem. If they can then do that and not have to worry about the run game as much, I think it just plays so much into the Rams and what they're trying to do. We saw in the first matchup when they were trying to throw it a little bit more, Darnold threw 4 picks. So again, if you force him to throw and him having to play kind of hero ball and really, really rely on him, I think that they can make him at least make 1 or 2 turnover-worthy mistakes. Now, Darnold did really redeem himself in the most recent matchup where he did throw 2 interceptions and still led that comeback. But at the same time, he still turned the ball over. So if you can shut down the run again and force him to pass, realistically, we're probably going to see at least 1 interception from Darnold. There's been 6 so far versus the Rams this year. I think it's almost a given that we're probably going to get 1 if you force him to really, really pass. So if you can make Darnold have to, pass the football maybe up to, let's say 35, 40 times, that's a pretty good spot to be in. So I think the Rams, if you can take away that run game, I think you're going to be sitting pretty sweet to at least be in a good position to win this game. That's all I had in this one. Those are my previews for the game. Just wanted to, again, talk about this one because this one is super interesting. Not that I'm not interested in the New England-Denver game, but this one is, the real one. And in my opinion, this is whoever wins this game is the favorite going into the Super Bowl. So we will see how this all goes, but if you like this video, feel free to give it a like. If you like NFL content, feel free to subscribe. Leave any thoughts down below in the comments. I will be checking those out. My TikTok will be in the description down below. If you made this far in the video, I greatly appreciate you. Peace, guys.